there's a difference between a leader and a boss, I feel. Big thing that I have retained from psychology is empathy. End of the day, it's all about how you get your shot right. Some parts of your personality, of course, will have to follow like a professional decorum, but your own personality goes into your work. How there are some frequencies that are always there, you know. There's no absolute, say, silence anywhere in the universe, as they say. Cinema can be separated very evidently from TV the moment the sound is different. Usually music comes in, I feel, of course, to add more body to the scene. Action को भी जब हम shoot कर रहे तो उसको भी हम action choreography ही बोलते हैं. Having access and understanding of softwares and technique reigns supreme, you know. So इधर वही कि जो पहली assembly होती है वो most editors I've seen they just go for like physical matching, you know, because उस वक्त वही होता है. That is why editors needs to start behaving like a storyteller. Recently, we have put this series called Tamasha Ghar on YouTube, on our Khoosat Films YouTube channel. But Tamasha Ghar actually looks a lot like what I'm doing now. And Tamasha Ghar is a series of 13 independent short plays which I did in 2003. You know, people think I've done Manto in 2011. No, I did Manto when I think I was just fresh off the, you know, the baking tray. And in 2002, I picked a Manto story. It was very complicated, and so maybe, you know, and there are things, people say that, you know, your first initial few years actually define what you would do later. It's more like, you know, you have poured your heart out, all your ambitions into it, and then you keep picking elements and keep sort of, you know, re-exploring them. That is why it's easy to assess, you know, like, honestly, now I feel more drawn towards comedy, you know, all over again. That, you know, I want to explore comedy, but I ran away from comedy for very personal reasons. You know, I was very young. I was being branded as someone who would only do comedy, and it started kind of, you know, creating the same fears in me, which I feel to some degree bad about when I think of my father's career. Like, he's an actor, but he's not a comedian. Like, a comedian is a person who specializes in comedy. A comedian essentially does not need to be an actor. So, you know, यहाँ पे वो एक division बन जाती थी कि, you know, Abba was branded as a comedian. And hence, you know, if you look at his body of work, he has done very little work which is not comedy. And so I got scared and I was like, no, I'm not going to do comedy. And I deliberately started refusing you know, work which was essentially comedy. So yeah, I mean, maybe for a book, not a very interesting book, but a semi-interesting book someday, you know. Okay, so other big beats. So what I wanted to pick from day one was that the whole exercise was not to say acquaint you or introduce you to difficult words and terminologies of cinema, but just to help you understand that now it cannot be just an eye which is looking for, oh, something, I don't like it. No, that is not criticism. That is not, you know, that's the difference between critique and opinion, you know. So now, I mean, if, even as a filmmaker, if you, you know, claim to be a filmmaker, you need to have a more critical eye. It can ruin your film viewing experience forever. But trust me, वो एक switch होता है, वो आपको कई दफा बस बंद करना पड़ता है, you know. That is why palette cleansing के लिए कई दफ़ा मैं बिल्कुल trashy चीज़ें इसलिए देखता हूँ, so that I'm not like, you know, just always obsessed with कि angle क्या है और editing क्या है और क्या हो रहा है. Okay. Day 2, anyone? Yeah, so day 2, what did we, like, give me a big beat from day 2.
Autos.
Right.
About
Yeah.
autos.
Right.
What is a director in terms of dictators versus those who are collaborators?
Right.
And
Do you feel then, like so whatever little we read or discussed about being an auteur, is an auteur a dictator, you feel?
not necessarily, more so just a singular voice that sort of at least
Right.
shapes the
Right.
overall process with
Right.
everybody else
Right.
following that
Right.
voice.
I really like the expression of a singular voice because, you know, we जो हम कल एक बात कर रहे थे कि how a certain kind of shot cannot just pop out because you like it, you know, you cannot just bung it in because it's exciting you, but it needs to somehow follow like a singular voice somewhere.